learned about your team over the last 5 weeks?
Geez, I'd say the word that I would use is the first word is resilient, and the second word I would say is courageous. I think that the growth that has happened, even in the course of the last 3 weeks, has been, at least during my time, seeing a team grow as much as I've watched this team grow up. It's been really impressive, and their process to get better every day and not really worry about the result, because I think they could have a lot of times, and their ability to just be resilient and grow forward, it's been awesome to watch. And there's a lot of young guys playing as you guys watch us play. I mean, and more keep having to play because of situational things, because they're earning it in practice. And I feel like every one of those kids steps in, man, they play as great as they can, as hard as they can. Is it always perfect? It's not. But I feel like, man, there's great growth between each game so far this football season. And that part for me is really exciting. And, the courageous piece of it is none of it is easy. None of the challenges that you're going against, the people that you played, none of those things are easy, and those kids have never backed down so far. So all those things are really rewarding right now as a coach to watch, and you enjoy coming to work every day trying to, demand to get better. Nobody's satisfied with the result. We want to be a better football team to win those football games that we've had the opportunity to win. And, you keep plugging away. You want to be your best football team by the end of the football season. I do think this team's got a chance to be that.
With all that youth, what's it mean to have a guy like Gary that's been here, that not is only in his 6th year, but has been here for all 6 years?
Well, I think, number one, it is huge to have that in the building, to understand as the player. And, you got some of these guys as graduate assistants that have been in, but somebody in that locker room that's played and is playing right now and has seen the highs of highs and the lows of lows and has the ability to navigate the locker room. And I think he has been an absolutely critical driving force. And I know I said this, nobody got more votes for captain on our football team, and I knew this football team at least knew what leadership looked like when we voted for captains this year, and he's the top vote getter on our team. And and it's been frustrating for Gary. I mean, we lose that guy for really 3 games. I mean, the 3rd play of the season, and I would say even last week he's still not 100%. I think he's closer this week to 100% as we've seen him. And so as frustrating as it's been for that guy to still stand in the middle of that locker room and guide the ship, man, it's been really impressive. It's been really courageous.
What's it mean to have a guy like that that's been on teams that have gone through adversity and then seen it through to the other side where the reward comes when you guys are going through it, whenever?
Well, I think the piece of it for him is, and I know I've said this at times, you feel like in a football program when there's longevity and you're trying to create a true program that, you go through experiences, and if you're going to go through adversity, which every team in college football will go through adversity, it's those that have the ability to respond and have the ability to grow through it. Those are the ones that at the end of the year you say, man, that was a really successful year. They reached their full potential. They became what they wanted to become. If it's the coach leading it, it'll never get there. And the reality, when it's player-led, then you have a real chance to get where you want to go. And, I think Gary's ability to have seen all the things that he's seen great leadership. He's seen, man, not so great leadership. He's been a part of, teams that have demanded to grow and teams that haven't. So I just feel like that guy is almost, he's a pillar for our locker room, and he's been a pillar for our football team. And I am very appreciative and proud of what he's done for our team so far.
Okay. 100th anniversary, Jack Trice Legacy Game. Is anything going to be different? What changes?
Yeah, I think you can, I think you can look at this and you can see the uniforms, and you can see, man, guys get T-shirts and different things, or you can have reality of what we're honoring, to be quite honest with you. And what you're honoring is, this man, that the act of courage that he truly had 100 years ago, and if you think even where we are today as a society, and this coming from East Tech High School in Cleveland, Ohio, and having the courage to come and break the color barrier here at Iowa State in athletics, it's powerful. And it's not it's not a gimmick, it's not a T-shirt, it's not a uniform. It's trailblazing. It's courage. It's probably in a lot of ways what we're missing today in our society of, man, being willing to stand for something and be about something. And so I think this opportunity to this entire season, but especially on Saturday, to honor the legacy of what he stood for so many of the young men in our locker room, our coaches, so many that have played here over the last 100 years. I think it's a powerful day, and it's a powerful story that we've tried to use in our football program over the last 7 years. And any time we've had the opportunity to have great successes on the national scene, tell the pillar story of our football program. So I think it is a powerful week for us, powerful season in general for us, because it's a legacy that has left a lasting impact on a lot of young men and a lot of our coaches in our program. It is. First high school I actually went in and recruited at Bowling Green High School, East Tech, Cleveland, Ohio.
When you flash back a couple weeks to Ohio versus where you are right now, what goes into that growth on the offensive end? Is it a complete revitalization, or is it kind of a
It's confidence. It's confidence. And confidence is earned, and it's not given. And, I think what you're starting to see is guys making plays. I think it's a confidence of, guys understanding their role and really diving into their role. And that's, I know I said it early in the year. I mean, this team will have to grow immensely, because you can't give somebody the role. You got to earn it. And I think you're seeing those roles being earned right now, and confidence is coming from that. And I think those are all huge things that are happening. And yet I say that, and there's still so much growth to happen. I mean, as great as some of the things that occurred Saturday, there's still reasons we didn't win the football game. And, you look at that game, it's 21-20. Then it's 28-20, at the 5:40 mark in the football game, the second half. And, man, you're playing a great football team, and you got a chance to be right where you want to be going into halftime, and we don't do it. And so I think, man, again, the lessons learned, we take the positive and we take the negative, and you demand to grow forward. You don't accept it. But I think the answer to your question is, it's confidence, and that's really what you're starting to see is guys making plays consistently week in and week out and feeling confident that they can do it within the system. So that's what I would answer it.
Jared Hufford said, in terms of the running game getting going last week, it more or less hinged on, quote, "we've had enough," as an offensive line and the tight ends and all that. What's the value of a "we've had enough" moment for a football team?
Well, if you're going to create change, you got to draw a line in the sand, and you got to demand it. And, I'm glad that's the answer, and I hope that continues to be the answer, because one game doesn't define a season. And obviously we didn't win the game, and there's probably could have been a lot better moments, but I think there was great growth. And so to me, it's like anything, and I think, again, you say, man, what's a Jared Hufford seen here, and what is Gary Vaughn seen here? At some point, you got to draw a line in the sand and say enough's enough, and you got to live to what you're capable of playing. And I think that's holistically even still where our growth has to be is players got to make A's in the football game, and we've got enough good A players to earn the right to make A's in the game. And then the reality of the confidence building, but the veteran leadership in our team's got to draw a line in the sand and say enough's enough. And I still feel like there's a lot of that to continue to happen, to be our best and to consistently be our best week in and week out. But I'm certainly glad that was the response, because that's how change happens. Is at some point you draw a line in the sand and you demand it to happen.
And defensively, OU was obviously. Gabriel's a great quarterback and all that, but just able to put together chunk play after chunk play, uncharacteristic for you guys. What needs cleaned up there?
Well, some of those chunk plays, are you got to give a little bit of credit to them. We've got to be able to affect the quarterback, and I don't think we've done a good enough job over the course of the last couple of games doing that. Number one. I think number two, we had the opportunity. You're a fraction off on a couple of those. I mean, you're right there, and you got to make the play. And some of those guys are young pups, but some of those guys are older guys, and so. We've got to be our precision and detail when you're facing elite talent, and you're going to see it again in 4 days. And you see the same offense and the same type of players, how you respond, how you continue to pound away at your habits and your craft, because it's the moments and being able to win with your fundamental and detail in the moment. That's where it allows you to have success. So I think great growth opportunities available, especially, in some of those plays. But I would circle back to, how do we affect the quarterback? Because I think that continues to be really important for this team.
How do you do that, though?
Yeah.
Is it the guys with their hand on the ground, or do you got to get more aggressive or exotic with blitz packages?
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. I still think, again, that's a very young defensive front right now. You got a lot of guys. I mean, they're all first-time starters, and really the top 6 guys on the defensive line are really the first time getting the bulk load of experience, and they've had some really good moments. But the consistency that you need to play in that unit to be able to be in those environments against these teams and these offenses, it takes your very best. And so I think that a part of it, I think pressure-wise, we've mixed and matched that. And again, we talked even after the Okie State game, there's a price to pay when you're going to pressure people, and so I think you got to have a great mix of it. Coach Haycock does a great job of that.
What's the dynamic of not even getting to the quarterback, but not having a guy like Jaquan or Will that is going to get double, get all that attention because of their ability?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's not happening right now with opposing offense.
No, I just, and not to say we don't have those guys, because, you think, Tyler Onyedin has had flashes of moments like you've seen from some of those guys. I think Joey's flashed in a lot of positive ways. It's not a talent issue, it's a maturity issue to take that step that those guys did, and Jaquan, it really probably happened late in his sophomore year, his second year playing, that became that kind of player. No different for Will, really in his junior year became that player. So, we've got guys, and, it's just, again, their maturity to consistently be that guy to demand that attention, but you also got to make the plays to demand that kind of attention as well.
What have you seen from TCU offensively and defensively? They've obviously lost a lot of players from that national championship team, but what have you really seen from them through these first 5 games and being able to respond from last year's game?
Yeah, I mean, there are some new faces, but there's still a lot of the same faces that we played against a long time. I mean, you look on that defense, I think the bulk load of it is 3/4 of it is back on the defensive side of the football. You look on the offensive side of the football, they've done a great job of recruiting there, and they've had playmakers for the last 7 years that we've played, maybe as good as anybody in the conference at times in terms of speed, athleticism, the ability to make plays. So, and you got a quarterback that's played a ton of football, so especially in their system. So to me, you're playing a football team that knows how to win. The fabric of being a championship football team certainly lies within their football team and their program, and it'll be a great challenge for us Saturday night for sure.
What's the injury situation?
Yeah, I honestly, I think I said this in our staff meeting yesterday. I can't believe going into the 6th week of a season, we're almost back to full strength. Malik is back this week. Darian Porter back this week. Darian played a little bit last week, but I think back to 100%. Cartavius, we feel like made really good headway. We played him a little bit last Saturday, but I think getting ready to be back at full strength. So, right now I feel like we're healthiest we've been, other than the start of the season, which I think is positive for us.
Okay, one more thing here from me. You play at the dreaded 7 o'clock Saturday night. Then you play at the wonderful 11 o'clock on the next week.
Mm-hmm.
Which would you prefer?
Well, either end of the spectrum, either 11 or 7. I can go either way. It's the middle that sometimes is painful for the coaches and the team, because I feel like if it's early, you can prepare for it. If it's late, you can prepare for it. But it's those middle ones sometimes that get goofy, in my opinion. So
what do you do all day on whatever Saturday?
you watch college football. You watch other people sweat it out. So yeah. So that's at least what I do. Yeah.